Thermal performance of second-grade parameter on non-Newtonian magnetohydrodynamic blood flow through a porous artery. Abstract: in this paper, mathematical modeling and simulation of a non-Newtonian magnetohydrodynamic blood heat transfer through a porous artery is constructed, and due to non-linearity of the constructed model, a hybrid algorithm based on classical Homotopy Perturbation Method, HPM, for solving nonlinear model equations was also proposed. The analytic solution for the temperature profile of the constructed model was obtained applying Laplace transform in the hybrid algorithm, and for the complexity of the present model the analytic solution was obtained with aid of MATHEMATICA software, and the result was presented and analyzed graphical showing the effect of second-grade parameter, third-grade parameter, Hartmann number, Prandtl number, body acceleration, pressure gradient, and frequency ratio on temperature profile. As the fluid becomes more shear thickening with increasing third-grade parameter, the values of the temperature distribution increases as time progresses. An increase in the non-Newtonian viscoelastic parameter of second-grade fluid decreases the temperature distribution of blood for small value of time, while an increase in the temperature distribution was observed for large value of time. The consequence of increasing the thermal Prandtl number PR for large time increases the thermal boundary layer thickness, whereas a decreasing the time leads to decreases the thermal boundary layer thickness. The consequence of increasing Hartmann number is that it decreases the temperature profile and the thermal performance of the blood. Keywords: second-grade fluid, Homotopy Perturbation Method, hybrid algorithm, blood flow. 1.0 Introduction. Blood flow is essential in maintaining life. This is due to transportations of oxygen and nutrients to all parts of the body. It also relays chemical signals and moves metabolic waste to the kidneys for elimination. Blood flow in the human cardiovascular system is caused by the pumping action of the heart. The heart is a muscular organ in humans and other animals, which produces a pulsatile pressure gradient throughout the system, popularly known as a pressure pulse, which physicians check at the wrist. Despite more than 100 years of closed study, a concise, predictive model of blood flow is still of far-reaching. Kieselleff et al., 2012, Thomas and Samam, 2016, Herrera Valencia et al., 2017, and Gayatri, and Shailendra, 2019. To date, numerous mathematical models have been developed to describe blood flow in the circulatory system. Hartley and Cole, 1974, Formaja et al., 1999, Tabrisky et al., 2000, Kartrani et al., 2001, Gabaris et al., 2006. Following such a tradition but looking at different aspect, this paper adopts the magnetohydrodynamic fluid model in representing the blood flow. A magnetohydrodynamic fluid is defined as a fluid that exists in a living creature and its flow is influenced by the presence of a magnetic field. The main reason in choosing this model to describe blood flow comes from the fact that blood behaves as magnetic fluid. Tsertsalakis, 2005 and 2008, Ikbat et al., 2009, Sheikh Holslami et al., 2015, and Pishkar et al., 2019. Due to the complex interaction of the intercellular protein, cell membrane, and the hemoglobin, a form of iron oxide's presence at a uniquely high concentration in the mature red blood cells, erythrocytes. Its magnetic property is affected by factors such as the state of oxygenation. Higashi et al. 1993. Recently, special attention has been given on modeling the blood flow in the presence of magnetic field. Roberi et al., 2017, Ardahaye et al., 2018, Krishna et al., 2018, Mikiimer et al., 2018, Sharma et al., 2019, Changdar and Day, 2019. This is due to the numerous useful applications have in bioengineering and medical sciences. Ruig and Rusetsky, 1993, Plavins and Lava, 1993, Hike et al., 1999. Among them are the development of magnetic devices for cell separation, targeted transport of drugs, i.e. using magnetic particles as drug carriers, magnetic wound treatment and cancer tumor treatment, reduction of bleeding during surgeries and provocation of occlusion of the feeding vessels of cancer tumors and development of magnetic tracers. It is imperative to acknowledge that mathematical modeling and analytical simulations provide many important insights on the underlying interactions between heat transfer performance with various physiological parameters, some of which are not directly accessible through experimental investigation. Modeling simulations make possible the study of the feasibility of a medical technique before entering clinical trials, and simulations are useful for investigating the influence of various factors independently. Haver-Court and Kenjuries, 2008, Haver-Court et al., 2009. Since the human blood is slightly electrically conductive, it is important to formulate a mathematical model that mimics properly the effects of magnetization and Lorentz force on the blood flow and heat transfer performance. Kenjuries and Opdam, 2009. The application of magnetic in fluid flow and heat transfer will be considered in this paper because the model is more realistic from the physiological point of view. The rheology study to obtain appropriate mathematical relations for description of the behavior of non-Newtonian fluid flows have been started since 1960s and 1970s. However, the science of rheology is still in its process of development and new phenomena are constantly being discovered. Advancements in analytical techniques have made possible detailed analyses of non-Newtonian fluid dynamics that is complicated by the presence of many relaxation times. Coleman and Knoll, 1960, have defined the incompressible fluid of differential type of grade N as a simple model obeying the constitutive equation. Aliyu and Reyes, 2010, Hayat et al., 2011, Aliyu, 2013, Haytami et al., 2014, Akbarzadeh, 2016, Rashidi et al., 2017, Akbarzadeh, 2018. The blood is in general a non-Newtonian fluid. Fung, 1993. The non-Newtonian behavior of the whole blood is due to the existence of the suspended cells in the plasma. In recent years, mathematical models have been formulated to investigate the flow behavior of a blood for various non-Newtonian fluids. Nagarani and Saroyama, 2008, have analyzed the pulsatile flow of the blood using the Casson non-Newtonian fluid model. Srikanth and Tades, 2012, have studied the pulsatile blood flow in a multiple stenotic artery using the micropolar and couple stress fluid non-Newtonian models. Aliyu et al., 2014, investigated the unsteady and incompressible arterial blood flow of non-Newtonian fluid of micropolar fluid through composite artery. Akbar et al., 2014, performed theoretical study on the unsteady blood flow of a Williamson fluid non-Newtonian fluid, which represents the behavior of pseudoplastic materials, particularly of polymer solutions and powder suspensions in Newtonian fluids, through composite stenosed arteries with permeable walls. Siddiqui et al., 2015, has considered the blood flow through a stenosed artery with body acceleration and oscillating pressure gradient, using the Bingham plastic non-Newtonian fluid model. Mozaibadorka et al., 2015, investigated the problem of blood flow using third-grade non-Newtonian model, and Balaga et al., 2019, studied the influence of velocity and thermal slip on the blood flow using Herschel-Bulkley non-Newtonian fluid model, etc. The first mathematical model of blood as third-grade non-Newtonian fluids started by Mehi et al., 1994. Their model involved pulsatile blood flow, subjected to externally imposed periodic body acceleration. The equation that described the flow of blood are strongly nonlinear and solved numerically using an implicit finite difference technique. In this model MHD was not put into account. Akbarzadeh et al., 2012, consider the MHD effect of blood flow through porous arteries using a locally modified homogeneous nanofluid model. Blood is taken into account as the third-grade non-Newtonian fluid containing nanoparticles. The modified governing equations are solved numerically using Newton's method and a block tridiagonal matrix solver. The results are compared to the prevalent nanofluids single-phase model. Haytami et al. 2014, considered the heat transfer in the flow analysis for a non-Newtonian third-grade nanofluid flow in a porous medium of a hollow vessel in the presence of a magnetic field are simulated analytically and numerically. Gaisme et al., 2015, simulated a mathematical model for flow analysis of a non-Newtonian third-grade blood in coronary and femoral arteries. Blood is considered as the third-grade non-Newtonian fluid under periodic body acceleration motion and pulsatile pressure gradient. Differential quadrature method, DQM, and Crank-Nicolson method, CNM, are used to solve the partial differential equation, PDE. Adamu et al. 2015, had studied the flow analysis for a non-Newtonian third-grade flow in coronary and femoral arteries as simulated numerically. The fluid is considered as a third-grade non-Newtonian fluid under periodic body acceleration motion and pulsatile pressure gradient. Duffert-Frankel and Crank-Nicolson method are used to solve the partial differential equation of the governing equation, and a good agreement between them was observed in the results. Gaisme et al. 2015, studied blood flow containing nanoparticles through porous arteries in presence of magnetic field using third-grade non-Newtonian fluids. The governing flow equation and energy equations were simulated analytically using collocation method, CM, and optimal homotopy asymptotic method, OHAM. Result shows that an increasing in thermophoresis parameter, N, caused an increase in temperature values in whole domain and an increase in nanoparticles concentration near the inner wall. Meekheimer et al. 2017, have studied the effect of heat transfer with the blood flow using third-grade non-Newtonian model containing gold nanoparticles in between two coaxial tubes. The outer tube has a sinusoidal wave traveling down its wall and the inner tube is rigid. The governing equations of third-grade fluid along with total mass, thermal energy, and nanoparticles are simplified by using the assumption of long wavelength. Exact solutions have been evaluated for temperature distribution and nanoparticles concentration, while approximate analytical solutions are found for the velocity distribution using the regular perturbation method with a small third-grade parameter. The results pointed to that the gold nanoparticles are effective for drug carrying and drug delivery systems because they control the velocity through the Brownian motion parameter and thermophoresis parameter. Gold nanoparticles also increases the temperature distribution, making it able to destroy cancer cells. Ardahaye et al. 2018, have examined the problem of blood flow and of blood containing nanoparticles in a porous media affected by the magnetic field. Considering the blood as a third-grade non-Newtonian fluid and by assuming the constant viscosity for the nanofluid. New method called Akbari-Ganji method, AGM, along with differential transformation method, DTM, has been conducted for this problem. Increasing the negative pressure gradient along with the thermophoresis parameter would cause an increase in velocity profile, while the magnetic nature of the blood cells is investigated by increasing the magnetic field parameter, that led to a decrease in the blood velocity as expected. All the above studied mentioned above, the model of third-grade fluid were developed only for steady flows and heat transfer analysis. However, problems for unsteady third-grade fluid was derived. Most practical problem in biofluids mechanics are dealing with unsteady problems. The first mathematical model for unsteady third-grade fluid was presented by Akbarzadeh et al. 2016. In their model, the unsteady magnetohydrodynamic, MHD, blood flow through porous arteries with the influence of externally applied body acceleration and pressure gradient. Blood is considered as a third-grade non-Newtonian fluid. Homotopy Perturbation Method, HPM, was employed to solve the problem of non-Newtonian fluid flow for various flow models. Sheikh-Holslami et al. 2012. Utilized the semi-analytical approach of HPM to solve the three-dimensional problem of steady fluid deposition on an inclined rotating disk. Khan and Smarda, 2013, considered the homotopy perturbation method, HPM, for solving dimensionless nonlinear ordinary differential equations of the Hemans flow of a non-Newtonian fluid. Sheikh-Holslami and Ganji, 2013, investigated semi-analytically heat transfer of a nanofluid flow, Cu water, which is squeezed between parallel plates using HPM. Sheikh Holslami et al., 2014, investigated the boundary layer flow of viscous nanofluid, Cu water, Ag water, Al2O3 water, TO2 water, and heat transfer over a permeable stretching wall using homotopy analysis method, HAM. In all, the above literature on homotopy perturbation method are limited to steady flow. The only work that is related to unsteady problem is that of Abdulhamid et al., 2014, who employed an analytical perturbation transform method for solving transient flow of third-grade fluid, generated by an oscillating upper wall, inside a porous channel. 2.0 Modeling of the problem. 2.1 Energy equation. The equation which govern the conservation of energy for incompressible fluid is given by Siddiqui et al., 2008, Hayat et al., 2008. 2.2 Constitutive equation for a third-grade fluid. A constitutive equation is a relation between the stress and the local properties of a fluid, which is used to describe the rheological characteristics or behavior of the fluids. In this project, the popular subclass of differential type non-Newtonian fluid model, which is the third-grade fluid model, is considered Cauchy stress tensor. For an incompressible non-Newtonian third-grade fluid is given by Coleman and Knoll, 1960. Where is the stress tensor, P is the pressure, is identity tensors. The third-grade model is the subclass of the differential type fluids. The model can be able to predict the normal stress differences and capture the non-Newtonian effects such as shear thinning or shear thickening, as well as normal stresses. Fosdick and Rajagopal, 1980. 6. Where TR is the trace matrix, 1-2 are the material parameters of second-grade fluid, 1-2-3 are the material parameters of third-grade. The constitutive equation for a second-grade fluid can easily be obtained by setting the values of material constants, equals 0 in the model given by equation 6. They, and are called the Rivlin-Eric-Kaysen tensors. Rivlin and Ericsson, 1955, Elahi, 2013, Hayat et al., 2011, Akbarzadeh, 2018, defined as 8. Where equals is the gradient operator, is the velocity field, and is the material time derivative. Fosdick and Rajagopal, 1980, showed that for a third-grade fluid model, equations 3, 6, to be consistent with thermodynamic consideration and the following constraint on the material constant must be satisfy equals 0, 1 equals 0, 1 plus 2 equals V24, 3, 9, 1 equals 0, 2 equals 0, 3 equals 0. Since 3, 0, the stress tensor can predict the shear thickening, shear thinning as well as normal stress behavior. Therefore, using equation 9, equations 3, 6, can be written as T equals dash, plus 1, plus 2, plus 3. 10. Assume that the velocity field is unidirectional. The axial velocity of blood is expressed as equals 0, 0, 11. Based on the assumption made in equation 11, we compute the coefficients of equation 10 as follows. Equation 15 is the proposed dimensional model equation of blood temperature. The corresponding, the initial and boundary conditions in dimensional form are as follows. Equals 0 at equals 0, 16. Equals 8 at equals 0, 17. Equals at equals 18. Where is the initial artery temperature, 8 is the surrounding temperature. 2.3 Dimensionless parameter. Dimensionless parameters are the measure of relative importance of different aspect of the flow. These parameters also reduce the number of experiments as different properties of the flow or fluids are combined together through these dimensionless parameters to observe their cumulative effect. To obtain the dimensionless model temperature equation, we introduce the following dimensionless temperature parameter. The corresponding, the initial and boundary conditions in dimensional form are as follows. 3.0 Analytic Solution Technique. 3.1 Proposed Hybrid Algorithm and Implementation to Nonlinear Model Equations. A hybrid procedure based on Modified Homotopy Perturbation Method, HPM, incorporating His polynomial into the HPM, combined with the Laplace transform method, was developed and applied to solve the governing model equations of the blood flow and heat transfer as proposed in our objectives. It is consisting of several sections which are: proposed model equations, classical homotopy perturbation method, hybrid algorithm for solving transient nonlinear PDE, description of the hybrid algorithm, implementation of the hybrid algorithm, and results validation. 3.2 Classical Homotopy Perturbation Method, HPM. In this section, we review the classical homotopy perturbation method, HPM, proposed by He, 1999, 2000, for solving nonlinear ordinary differential equations, ODE. Consider the following differential equation. Where is any differential operations end? Is a boundary operator. According to He, the differential operator E, U, is decomposed into 2 points, namely, linear and nonlinear parts. Where 0, 1 is an embedding parameter. Now consider the linear parts of equation 20, and express it in series form. Next, consider the nonlinear part of equation 20, and express it in polynomial form. Now, substituting equations 28 and 30 into equation 27, and obtain the following. Equation 18 is the classical HPM proposed by He. 3.3 Hybrid algorithm for solving the transient nonlinear PDE. In this section, we proposed new analytical algorithm for solving transient nonlinear partial differential equations. Our method is based on the classical HPM combined with Laplace transform integral for solving system of two nonlinear PDE. Consider the following system. Subject to the following initial and boundary conditions. Now in our proposed method, we introduce the Laplace transform on both sides of equation 37, we obtain. Where L is the Laplace transform operator. Focusing on the linear operators L2 in equations 38, the concept of the homotopy perturbation method with embedding parameter P is used to generate series expansion. For L2 as follows. 3.4 Description of the hybrid algorithm. Using the MATHEMATICA symbolic code, the first part of equation 46, 0, gives the value L2, 0. First, applying the inverse Laplace transforms to 2, 0, give the value of 0 that will define His polynomial, 0 using the first part of equation 46. In the second part of equation 46, 1, the He polynomial 0 will enable us to evaluate L2, 1. Second, applying the inverse Laplace transform to L2, 1, gives the value of 1 that will define His polynomials 1 using the second part of equation 46, and so on. This in turn will lead to the complete evaluation of the component, equals 0 upon using different corresponding part of equation 43. Therefore, the series solution follows immediately after using equation 39, with embedding parameter equals 1. 3.5 Implementation of the hybrid algorithm. In this section, we present the application of the algorithm derived to solve the derived model equations. Now, take the Laplace transform of both sides of equations 20, we obtain the following. We generated the solutions of temperature distribution using the MATHEMATICA code. 4.0 Results. Here in this section we present the result of non-dimensional temperature of unsteady pulsatile magnetohydrodynamic third-grade non-Newtonian blood flow through porous arteries, showing the effects of pertinent parameters on the non-dimensional temperature. Figures 1 and 2 depict the effect of second-grade parameter on the thermal performance of the blood for small time and large time respectively. Figures 3 and 4 shows the effect of Prandtl number on the thermal performance of the blood for small time and large time respectively, while figures 5 and 6 present the effect of the third-grade parameter on the thermal performance of the blood for small time and large time respectively. The effect of pressure gradient on the blood thermal performance are presented in Figure 7 and 8 for small time and large time respectively, and the effect of body acceleration on the thermal performance of blood are presented in Figure 9 and 10 for small time and large time respectively. Figures 11 and 12 shows the effect of Hartmann number on the thermal performance of the blood for small time and large time respectively, and Figures 13 and 14 shows the effect of frequency ratio on the thermal performance of the blood for small time and large time respectively, while Figures 15 and 16 present the effect of lead angle of body acceleration on thermal performance of the blood for small time and large time respectively. 5.0 equals T. The effects of pertinent parameters on the non-dimensional temperature for blood flow are displayed in Figures 1 to 6. The influence of the second-grade parameter on the temperature are illustrated by Figure 1 and 2. These figure expresses the effect of stress-strain on the temperature field for small time, Figure 1, respectively, Figure 20. Increasing the second-grade parameter for small time, Figure 1, leads to decrease in the thermal performance of blood. However, for large time, Figure 2, leads to increase in the thermal performance of blood. 5.0 equals T. 2 equals T. Figures 3 and 4 analyzes the effect of the thermal Prandtl number on the blood temperature distribution for small time, Figure 21, and large time, Figure 4, respectively. It is evident that an increase in Prandtl number leads to decrease in blood temperature for small time while increases the blood temperature distribution for large time. 5.0 equals T. 2 equals T. The influence of the third-grade parameter on the temperature are illustrated Figures 5 for small value of time and Figure 6 for large value of time. These figure expresses the effect of shear thickening on the temperature field. Increasing third-grade parameter for small time leads to decrease in the thermal boundary layer thickness while for large time leads to an increase in the thermal boundary layer thickness. Figures 7 and 8 illustrate the influence of external pressure gradient on the temperature of the blood flow where the temperature is directly proportional to the external pressure gradient for both small and large time, and it shows high effect at the arterial wall for large time than for small time. While, Figures 9 and 10 illustrate the influence of external body acceleration on the temperature of the blood which shows that at small time the temperature has no definite pattern, but for large time it shows that increase in the external body acceleration lead to the decreases in thermal performance of blood. Figures 11 and 12 were plotted to illustrate the effect of Hartmann number to the temperature of the blood flow for small and large time respectively. Where Figure 11 shows that for small time increase in the value of the Hartmann number decrease the thermal performance of blood while Figure 12 shows at large time increase in Hartmann number increases the thermal performance of blood. While in Figure 13 and 14 were plotted to illustrate the effect of frequency ratio on the thermal performance of blood, where we observed that increase in frequency ratio yield to the decreased thermal performance of blood for small time and for large time increase in frequency ratio lead to the increase in the thermal performance of blood. Figure 15 and 16 depict the effect of lead angle of the body acceleration on the thermal performance of blood, where for the small time, the increase in lead angle of the body acceleration result to a decrease in the thermal performance of blood and for the large time, we observed that as the lead angle for the body acceleration increase, the graph shows no any definite pattern on the thermal performance of blood. 5.0 Conclusion. In this paper, a theoretical study of the pulsatile heat transfers of an electrically conducting viscoelastic third-grade fluid through porous artery has been carried out. Our proposed model was general for non-zero second-grade parameter. The coupled nonlinear partial differential equations governing the heat transfer are analytically solved by applying a new modified analytical technique based on classical homotopy perturbation method combined with Laplace transformed method. Numerical simulation through graphs showing the effects of the various physical parameters on the temperature distributions on the problem were performed. The present analysis shows that a. As the fluid becomes more shear thickening with increasing third-grade parameter, the values of the momentum boundary layer increases as time progresses, thereby decreasing the temperature distribution as time decreases and as third-grade parameter also increases, the thermal boundary layer increases. B. an increase in the non-Newtonian viscoelastic parameter of second-grade fluid decreases the temperature distribution of blood for small value of time, while an increase in the temperature distribution was observed for large value of time. C. The consequence of increasing the thermal Prandtl number PR for large time increases the thermal boundary layer thickness, whereas a decreasing the time leads to decreases the thermal boundary layer thickness. D. The consequence of increasing Hartmann number is that it decreases both the velocity profile and the thermal performance of the blood. Acknowledgement. This study was supported by the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund, Institutional Based Research, IBR, Fund, through the Directorate of Academic Planning, DAP, Federal College of Education, Yola and College of Computer Science and Engineering, University Hafr al-Badan, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, for allowing me to conduct my bench work in the university.